So, hello everybody, and here we are back with the last Soundbites, Chits and Cats for the Black Riders expansion. We will be talking about the flight to the fort. From a story perspective, what has just happened is Frodo and the hobbits have encountered five of the Nazgul at Weathertop, and Frodo has been terribly wounded by a Morgul blade, so he was stabbed by the Witch King into the shoulder. And he is in a really bad way. So the company is now significantly slowed down because he can't walk anymore. So they have to put him on Build a Pony, and they have to keep him warm. He's beginning to turn really cold, and he is also beginning to slip into the Shadowlands. So the Morgul blade has got some poison, some evil poison in it that is slowly turning him into a kind of ring wraith. And the situation is really bad because, of course, the Black Riders are still after them. They still haven't been able to find Gandalf, and they are trying to make their way to Rivendell. And that's when the story begins. So our quest starts with the stage 1A, pursued by the enemy. What we do is we have a burden deck. So this is the first time in this campaign that we are faced with a deck of burdens. It's 5 cards that you shuffle into a separate deck. And every so often you will have to take one of those cards and play it. And as soon as you play it, and once, even if it's resolved and goes into your discard pile, you have earned this burden. So it will stay with you like the ring draws them from the very first adventure. These stay with you. So it's kind of a toss-up. Sometimes you get to choose between taking a burden and shuffling it into the deck, thus earning it for future campaign play. But you're avoiding a nasty situation then and there. Or you decide to take the nasty situation and accept it, but forego the burden. And sometimes this choice is really, really difficult. So again, a very nice mechanic, because it enables tactical play while also making room for strategic decisions. So let's see what happens. First, we put together the burden deck, and then we attach an evil wound to the ring bearer. This card, I'm going to show you as well, is a really bad one because it will actually make your life very, very, very difficult because it acts like a counter. So now Frodo has been given 15 life points, and each round you have to reduce one of his life points. There are also other game effects which will require you to reduce his life points. So you have a maximum of 15 rounds because you cannot heal him. And if you don't manage to win within those 15 rounds, he will actually have died, and then you have lost the game. So the way I played is, in the beginning I had tokens or I had dice, but then I decided this was too weird, so I'm just using a doom counter, and I set it to 85, and then I just count up to 100. So once we have set everything up, we also need to turn over the card, and I would like to draw your attention to the really beautiful artwork. In general, of course, the artwork is always top notch. I really like this picture of Frodo on, and that horse is, of course, Asfaloth, riding away from the Black Riders. Now, as you can see here, the players cannot advance unless the last bridge is in the victory display. This is 15 exploration points. That is a lot. And of course, the idea is that you have to run away, and it's all about really running away. Now there are a lot of enemies in the game, but usually depending on what kind of group you play with. For my group, for my heroes, they weren't that big a deal. But of course, if you're playing with a group of hobbits and you have, like, or Aragorn and 3 hobbits, that's going to be difficult. It's going to be a lot more difficult. So let's take a look at the last bridge. Of course, it's immune to player effects. And if you want to travel there, which you have to, because you have to get rid of it, and you cannot use Asphalloth or anything else to influence this card, you have to reveal the top card of the burden deck and resolve it. And that can be anything from a very minor one to a really serious one, which gets attached to the ring bearer. So once you've traveled here, as you can see, you have a total of 19 progress that you have to make to get through this. And it's really all about questing. You want questing power, questing power, questing power. This is really important. So in order to play this, you would like to have 2 or 3 West Road travelers. I mean, like I said in my previous report on A Knife in the Dark, I have no idea how I've managed to overlook this card all these years. It's a brilliant card. There are so many really good Rohan characters with high questing power, and 2 will is high questing power, that are really cheap. For 2, for 3, they have nice additional abilities. I don't really know how I've managed to overlook them. That goes to show that even if you have a big card pool, and you seem to know how to best play the game, it does warrant looking over the card pool that's available to you every so often to kind of go, okay, well, maybe I should try this one, maybe I should try that one. So again, you want to get out as many allies as possible for questing at the very beginning so that you can get through those 19 plus points really, really quickly. You also have to put a Fell Rider in place, in play at the very beginning. And a Fell Rider is quite a nasty guy, because the issue with the Fell Riders is that they will either engage you, and if you don't engage them, you have to you actually have to get rid of if you don't engage the Fell Rider, and I don't know why I can't seem to show you this card, which is kind of annoying. That's what happens when you have to do everything on your own, when you don't have anybody to help you, so that you have to talk and you have to do all of the other stuff. So I can't show you the Fell Rider card, I don't know why. But the problem with the Fell Rider is it's got an engagement of 30. But if you don't engage the Fell Rider, you have to reduce the ring bearer's life by 1 at the beginning of each encounter phase. Now, if you have 2 or 3 of those in the staging area, you will reduce Frodo's life points by 3 each time, and that's serious. That's a serious problem. So the issue there is that, of course, depending on the power of your attackers and defenders, this can cause huge issues. For me, it wasn't such a big deal. I just engaged him, and then of course, in my first game, I engaged him, and then the second card that came out of the encounter deck was, of course, another enemy. So enemies were building up quite quickly, but I was able to deal with it. It was really the questing that was more problematic, but again, this really depends on the type of game that you play. Here we have the stage 2A. Once you've successfully conquered the last bridge and the enemy is upon us. Again, I love the artwork. It's very evocative of the film and also the animated version. And you have now safely made it to the fort. You have fought your way through, you've basically bypassed or fought your way through the enemies. Of course, that is not really thematic because there isn't really any fights with the enemies except for Weathertop. So now it's Race to Rivendell, where you have to add the Fort of the Bruinen and the Witch King, our old friend, to the staging area. And the Fort of the Bruinen is again immune to player card effects, and it has a really, really nice side effect. When you travel to it, you have to reveal the top card of the encounter deck. That's actually not so bad because you don't have to exhaust the One Ring, because when you do exhaust the One Ring, the Witch King's engagement cost is reduced by 30, so he will definitely engage you, and he's quite strong. But once you have put the Fort of Bruinen in play as the active location, and you have explored it, any enemy engaged with you will be destroyed. So the secret, or well, it's not a secret, but the tactics I use is I essentially put as much progress as I possibly can on the stage 2B. Because as you can also see here, while at least one Nazgul enemy is in play, Race to Rivendell gets plus 15 points, plus 15 quest points. So you can either have Nazgul engaged with you, but then you have to, or in the staging area, but then you have to put 30 progress on this. And that's going to be really, really hard because the clock's ticking. Frodo's life is draining away slowly or fast, depending on which cards you draw. And how many Fell Riders you have in the staging area. So what I do is I try to get rid of all of the Fell Riders because they will reduce Frodo's life points. I then try to put as many progress tokens on the Race to Rivendell Flight to the Fort 2B stage, and only once I've got 15 there do I bring in play the Fort of the Bruinen. Again, you also have to manage your threat because you don't want to get into Witch King engagement levels too quickly. Then you need to engage every single Nazgul that's still in play. And that can be quite difficult if it's many, because then you will have to feint them, because they only have to stay with you long enough for you to put the 6 progress on this, because then they will be swept away. And since you've already done the 15 points on the stage 2B, you have essentially won the game. So sometimes it takes a little practice to get the timing right, but I think this is one where if you have enough questing power, you should be able to even beat it on your first try. You might have to get a little bit lucky there, but it's definitely possible. But what I like about it is that it's a really tactical game. You know, timing, preparing for it. You don't have that much time to do your own staging. You don't have that much time to bring out your allies, to bring out any attachments that you would like to play. So again, ally heavy deck, ally heavy deck, ally heavy deck. You want allies in there to quest like crazy, and even forego the expensive ones. In this one, I took out Faramir entirely because he was not pulling his weight, and he costs 4, and it's going to be expensive. It's going to take time to get 4 resources, so cheap ones. Even, you know, the Snowborn Scout, he's only 1, but he will put 1 resource on any progress on any of the on any location of your choosing that's not immune to player card effects, because you will have stuff in the staging area. Asfaloth is a friend, so it's really important to get that right. And then you can, and of course, you know, once Snowborn Scout has done his duty and put 1 progress on a location, he's a good chump block, and that's important. You can use him to get to engage those pesky Fell Riders and then just hit them over the head. Again, Dagger of Westerness, really good because you can engage higher enemies, and you get +2. So I like this quest, and I have to say every single time I play it, because of the mechanic of Frodo's life draining away, I'm under pressure. And I can feel the wind on my face while I'm riding Asphalot and trying to get away from those black riders, and I can hear their horses behind me, and and this is also probably the one where most people were outraged who didn't like the changes that were made in the films, because of course this is where Arwen first appears. She is the person who encounters Aragorn and says, "Oh, what's this? A, a ranger caught off his guard while he's looking for the Athelas." And she then says, "Okay, well, I will take Frodo. I ride faster than you." She's actually the person who owns Asphaloth in the film. In the books, it's of course Glorfindel. And she basically puts Frodo on the horse, and she rides away with him, and the Black Riders pursue her, and then she crosses the River Bruinen, and then give up the halfling she elf, and then she says, "If you want him, come and claim him." And the Black Riders drive their horses into the water, and I used to ride a lot when I was younger, and I know that horses, while they can swim, don't necessarily like going into water. Not every horse will want this. So to bring those horses into the water, you really have to be in total control, and especially since of course the water is pure and these are evil creatures from Mordor. And then of course the Bruinen swells up and washes them away, and the way they do this mechanically in the game, that you have 15 plus 6, and once the Ford of the Bruinen is completely explored, all of the engaged enemies are essentially washed away. I really like that, because it is very it's a great relief even in the film and in the book, because then of course they are done away with, but Frodo has almost expired at this stage because of the bad wound. And I really like how they managed to translate this iconic scene into this game. So I really like that quest. I prefer it to A Knife in the Dark, and I can only recommend it, and I hope that you will enjoy it when you play it. Today I also did my first The Ring Goes South. I played it twice. I won on my first try, which was really interesting. So my deck works if I get enough allies to quest. In the second round I wasn't so successful because I actually lost, because I didn't have the necessary allies. They just didn't come out in time. But it's a really lovely quest as well. So I'll do a film of this one maybe next week, and if I don't get to do it next week, then we will have to wait a good while, because I've got a visitor and I can't do any filming while they're around. But yeah, I will talk to you soon, and I wish you a pleasant Sunday. And for those of you who are interested in essentially playing the Lord of the Rings and do a play along, you can go to Board Game Geek, and there is now the possibility of playing with a group of people, and you can do campaign play there. I haven't done this myself, but it sounds really exciting. And yeah, I'm going to post a link to this in my description for this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.